laundry basket and it was taken out back and it was burned. Because tuberculosis can come in on your clothing. They found out that's what was killing so many children. Your child would die of tuberculosis, you would hand down their clothing to the next child would have tuberculosis. From this delousing exit, you would go across the hallway into a main tub room. You were given a hot bath and then a cold water douche. I can't tell you how many horror stories have been written about that one statement. A cold water douche. What they were really doing was giving you a cold shower. You see, in the 1940s, Americans didn't have showers, but they did in France, and they called them douches. So they were simply giving you a hot bath and then a cold shower to open up your lungs to see how sick you were with tuberculosis. From there, you went across the hallway here into a main exam room, and they would then decide how sick you were. They tested your blood, they tested your oxygen levels, all the things that they had to test tuberculosis. We did none of the rib removals or any of the suction gizmos that some of the other places were using. None of that was done here. But we did treat some of the sickest patients in Illinois. If you went to this side, which is our rented out unit to the Catholic Diocese, that's the male sick unit. Where we're going now is the male death ward. Please follow me. Be careful, watch your step. Be careful, watch your step. And I know I say that a lot, but during the haunt, we're hiding behind those walls. So. Okay, if you'll come on in right here in front of me here.
I got the tingles in the chest on that one.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel that? As soon as I walked through that door, dude, my chest started getting all itchy and tingly. I like that. That's my jam.
Welcome to the male death ward. This ward would have had 250 male patients in it. The beds were only 6 foot long and 2 foot wide. You see, when you're dying of tuberculosis, you don't move around a lot. At the far end are 2 oxygen scrubber rooms. Large oxygen machines would pump in as much fresh oxygen to this room as they possibly could, keeping the patients very comfortable. A row of windows was on one side to let in the rising sun, and a row of windows was set on the other side to catch the sunlight from the setting sun. Now, you may have heard that on a video we just saw.
I was just going to say, I'm waiting for
This is where I was standing when that happened. The orb bounced around in this corner back here, and the towel popped up, or sheet, popped up behind me right here in this corner.
So that's where that.
That's where all that was caught. You see, during the off season, I moved most of my haunt gear down to this one wing so we can redo my whole haunted house because we change it every year. So when this wing is full of stuff, we have a tendency to have more movement down here. Now we also have a gentleman I refer to as heavy boots. When I was locking up the first year of the haunt, I was down a hallway and one of my coworkers was locking a doorway down from me. And I heard, and I thought, oh my God, I locked somebody in the haunt. They're going to be so mad. And I said, hand me the light. Well, my coworker didn't hear me, and I heard. At this point, I turned to my coworker and I said, hand me the light. And again, these steps got closer. At this point, I turned to my coworker and I said, hand me the light. At which point, he tossed the flashlight to me and I turned it on. Nobody was there. So as soon as I got my heart to go back down in my chest, I said, thanks, guys. You sure got me. And then I walked around and did the rest of my job. They love it. If there's any emotion that drives the paranormal, it's fear. Because fear can make you drop. Fear can make you run. Fear can make you pass out. Fear makes you do stuff that no other human emotion does. And if we're feeding them as a battery, it's no wonder they like to spook you. I've never had anyone scratched, damaged, pushed, or anything like that. But scare ya? Oh, they like that. They'll come up and tap you on the shoulder on occasion, and when you turn around, no one's there. They'll jiggle a door handle so that you think someone's on the other side, and when you open the door, no one from your group is there. They'll stand at one end of the hallway, and they'll say, hey. And you'll go down there and see where they are, and from the other end, you'll hear movement. You'll go down to that end, and you'll hear noises at the other end. So there are definitely a few tricksters in our building, but Heavy Boots sounds different. He sounds different because the bottom of his shoes are not like ours. They're heavy leather. So the group that did finally catch the sound of footsteps in here, it sounds like a very old leather boot. That's why it sounded so loud to me. I'm not used to the sounds that leather boots make on these floors. Okay? All right, if you follow me, I'll take you neck down to our next hot spot. I have very few doors that are locked off. you'll notice with some type of tomfoolery, we have flipped those out. The reason we do
walk
that is
I just
sometimes
smack right
there's
in here.
something.
Camera.
The battery was
Someone
dead.
else's problem. Most of my haunt rooms
Think
though,
they're
I've
dead?
open for you. This is a tub room. The tubs were on one side, the shower stalls were on the other. All of these rooms are open for you. I suggest strongly. Oh shit, mouse. We do have mice.
And there it goes.
Take advantage of these rooms, guys. I can't tell you how many people bypass these and spend their entire night in the 2 death wards or the basement. Some of our best EVPs and full-bodied apparitions have been caught in these side rooms. So don't forget about them, okay?
I was in this room in the haunt one year, and I saw somebody, I thought I heard and saw somebody walking around. Nobody there. I was in the box, so you can imagine, I was like, stepped up to look over the top, and I'm like, okay, thanks guys.
That's good. That's what we're looking for.
Back up so they can come run.
Right after you.
They're coming, they're This is our brain room. This is where Stephanie will be tonight. She'll be back there watching those cameras. If at any point you want her to ghost hunt with y'all, she'll show you hot spots, tell you things that we've caught. She is quiet as a mouse. She won't interrupt you while you're ghost hunting, but she's also totally okay with you guys keeping this short and ignoring her being here. What she does for you is if she happens to see anybody around the building or anything, she calls in our security. We're over at the firehouse. We come over and take care of it within a few seconds, and you guys are never bothered. Okay? That's how we keep you safe
What's that
inside
behind
the
you?
building. This is my office.
I thought you scared.
This is my office. It is locked. A lot of haunt stuff in there. The other side, all the rooms are open. Even the ones that are packed full of stuff, I keep the doors open so you can at least get inside of there. We've had a few people walk by these rooms and hear voices inside. I want to make sure you can get in there if you hear something.
Sweet.
This room does go in and around, but we'll just keep going on down this way. I've had a lot of paranormal activity in this room. Spend some time in here tonight. I do have the other doorway blocked off. We don't go into that room. It's in a construction site right now, so it's too dangerous. But it started when I painted these walls. You guys are the first ghost hunting team to be here since I've done this.
Okay.
But when I did this, that very night, we started hearing sounds in here, and it sounded like mechanical equipment. It has just been wild. Why? I'm not really sure. Does it have something to do with the fact that I've painted the walls? I don't know. But take advantage of this room tonight.
Okay.
Okay? And again, step over. And we're going to go right down this way.
It's easy now.
Now when you go to a haunted house and you see where people jump out of the walls, you understand how that system works. This is my prop room. I'm going to go ahead and open it for you. I don't think you guys are going to want my styrofoam, so it's open for you. And we'll go right down this way. This mirrors the other side. I'm going to shut this door just for a second. I'll tell you about that when we come back this way. Okay. This is all mirrored of this other side, so all the same rooms that were in the other side are in this side. So all the treatment rooms mirror each other. This is the delousing from this side, the female side. What's interesting is we've caught a lot of EVPs of women crying, and we couldn't figure out if this was such a wonderful place, why are these women crying? Well, that's when the nurse told me about the fact that not only did they remove their clothing, they removed all of their long hair. Tuberculosis is carried in on your long hair. Can you imagine being a woman of the 1940s and now you're tuberculosis, possible death, and now they removed all your femininity? The interesting thing about this room is it has a sound effect that is overwhelming. You can already hear me echoing, can't you? Mm-hmm. The echo in this room is amazing. When you go in there, can you just imagine what it'd be like to come in, disrobe in a room like this, and from here knowing that this is it. This could be it for you. It could be why these delousing exits are so haunted. I'm gonna pop that open, because when you walk by, you should say something inside of the room.
Hello.
Okay, put some under it for me, would you? All right, this is haunted house stuff. Nothing original here because what you're standing in now is the female sick ward. We do have part of the female sick ward, and that's where we are now. The original walls have been shuffled back. So where it would have been a doorway, you've already passed through it. As you can see, I have a few chairs down here. We were hearing movement down here last weekend, so we came down and did some EVP sessions and had a lot of great activity right here. So again, this is the female sick ward. And if you'll follow me, this is how we walk through walls.
Look how clear that is.
Oh, yeah.
Watch the nails on that one.
Okay, what you're standing in now would have been the female death ward. You can see the black line on the floor there. That's where the original wall stood. From here on back was the female death ward. Now this unit is closed off. It's my partner's JFL, Junior Football League. And that's how we got to get this building to a haunted house. We donate majority of the proceeds from the haunt to JFL and reconstruction of the Pollak Hospital. But this very area has a very interesting story, and we're old enough to hear a very interesting story. How old are we?
18.
That's good. Okay.
This miles per hour, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I don't want to get too dirty in here, so. I came down here, and my JFL coaches had never ghost hunted before. And I had one that had won the Tough Man contest 4 years running. This guy's got pythons like you'd not believe, knock a guy out in one punch.
I don't want to talk about that.
But he
I
was,
thought I was tough and you got into it and
I remember that.
got my head crunched.
He was quite the guy. Now, when he came in, he'd never done this before. And him and his wife wanted to experience ghost hunting. And we were right here. And I had an EMF detector. And he started to do this. He said, "Can they touch your stuff?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Can they touch your, your stuff, your jewels? Can they touch that?" And I said, "Well, they're ghosts. I suppose they can touch whatever they want." And he says, "No, you don't understand. Somebody's got a whole handful of my stuff right now." And his wife said, "I don't believe you. Let me see." And she took the EMF detector out of my hand and she put it in his crotch. And when she did, the EMF detector went all the way up into the red. It beeped harder than I'd ever heard it before. And she took it away and it went down into the green. And she put it back in his crotch and it went into the red. And she took it up and it went into the green. He said, "Is that some kind of joke?" And I said, "I wouldn't even know how to do that as a joke." He said, "Well, I'm done ghost hunting. You can get me the hell out of here." And then he said, "Well, wait, maybe I'll stay here for a while and see what more she does." At which point I said, "Well, the only document I have of anybody that could possibly be doing that would be the 98-year-old lady that lived here during the very last years of the Pollak Hospital. And she was well known to rip her clothes off and run down the hallways. So maybe that's who's got a handful of your jewels down here at this end." But by all means, gentlemen, spend time down here tonight. Maybe the dirty girl will come out and introduce herself.
Oh, Grandma.
Yeah, it might be great.
Great Grandma. Even worse.
The last patients to live at the Peoria State Hospital lived right here. They were elderly women. We were the last building to house patients. Okay, if you'll
Nice.
follow me.
I may have to sleep in this room.
So we're leaving Josh down here alone, right?
Yes,
Everybody
everybody
likes Josh. Everybody likes Josh.
wait till he hits basement.
This one here is dripping a little.
That's where I usually stay away from everybody and sleep in the most haunted area when we have to stay the night.
Don't do
It's like in
anything.
a jail cell.
Come on.
Another tub room.
Okay, maybe
We do
not.
have it blocked off with greenery right now, but we did, this was the area that the group caught the girl crying and then even caught a partial scream. They were standing right inside of this doorway. And if you follow me. Yes, this is our notorious doll room. We have a really hard time keeping lights in this room. They seem to like to blow our bulbs. Now, where did all of our dolls come from? Well, I've been the crazy paranormal girl for a really long time, and when somebody has a haunted doll, they end up giving it to me. I have a doll that apparently pushed a little girl down a set of stairs.
She just made the.
I have a doll that the woman says she could hear singing to her little baby boy at night. I have a doll in this room that they said would move stuff around their basement at night to the point where they could hear her scampering around the basement. Now, these
Oh,
dolls
that
would
was
come to me,
cool.
and for a long time, I housed them at my own home.
Toy Story.
Well, my own home's haunted enough, so I started bringing them here to the hilltop. I suggest you do not touch any of my dolls. Closed off, it's my I suggest you do not touch any of my dolls. Closed off, it's my I suggest you do not touch any of my dolls. It's closed off, it's my
Camera gets set up in there and shit up and messes up.
Nathan, why you gotta be such a narc? God, I'm in trouble.
He is in trouble. He touched the dolls. Kicking his ass.
Who's the two baby dolls?
He's got
He
space.
touched the
He
dolls.
touched the dolls.
So
That ghost is going home.
Dude, you're not supposed to touch dolls.
I didn't touch him, he did.
I don't care.
He touched them.
I
He
don't
touched
care.
them?
He touched them.
Dolls. I touched the dolls.
Okay, there were two dolls.
You are
One was right side
told
up in
not
the doorway,
to
and the
do
other one
that.
was facing downside up. He put them both. Put one right in the chair.
Oh, that's right. You were standing there telling me that, and I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you touched the dolls.
Okay, the dolls. I'm sorry for touching them.
Supposedly, if you
You
touch
go
the
back
dolls,
there
they go
and
home with you.
You apologize.
Now, some of my dolls are artwork. As you notice on the top shelf, I have a devil doll, and I have a doll that looks like Edward Scissorhands, and some fun things. Those are art dolls. I do some of those, and Weapons does some of those. But others of the very smiling, beautiful-faced dolls are some of the most evil dolls that people around here have brought to me. One in particular, and I never pointed out to you, I had a gentleman adjust her and move her around. And he then drove home, got halfway home, turned around, came back, and said, "Woman, I don't know what you did, but get it out of my car." His seat next to him was raising and going back and forth, and his sound on his radio was going up and down. And I looked right at him, and I said, "You touched my dolls, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah, I may have touched your dolls." So I went out to the car, and I opened the car door, and I said, "That's enough. You're going to come back inside with me where your doll is." And we went back inside the
You guys
building.
touch those dolls, I'll kill you.
We never had another
Okay.
problem, but I suggest, since you don't know which ones are the worst
It's the
ones,
clown, I bet.
don't touch my
It's
dolls.
not even funny.
For those of you who did the Bowen building, you know that they had a doll in the attic, right? She's right here.
Oh, look at that.
The last ghost hunting group saved her from the attic and donated her here. So she is here with the rest of our dolls.
Not even
Okay,
funny.
right through
Dude,
this
there's like
way.
a mummy
You
doll.
totally missed your wife's face when she said it's the doll room with the haunted doll. She's like,
This is, again, it's
it just disappeared. Look out. Okay, you're trying to kill me already. Come on, dude.
Well, she didn't realize it?
No, as soon as she said that, Melanie's face just gave a creep out, and I laughed my butt
X-ray
off.
room. The development
Yes.
room is through here, and the other room is an X-ray room. Remember how I
Nathan, why you gotta be such a narc? God, I'm in trouble.